Regardless of your opinion on the Gundam seed, I'm sure there's a portion of us who got introduced to the Gundam franchise through this series. I still remember I would eagerly wait in front of the TV every Sunday for my local TV station to broadcast the series. This brings us to our kit today, the real great Impulse Gundam, the mobile suit of our side character. Main character in Gundam Seed Destiny. Bandai has been pushing the boundary for the real great line over the past few releases we got. The Impulse Gundam here has maintained the high standard of the real great line. The first thing that you'll notice with this kit is the solidness of the joints. The real great Impulse is rock solid. If you compare the Impulse to the earlier releases from Gundam Seed such as the real great Freedom, the advancement that has been made is just incredible. The articulation of the kit is incredible as always for the recent real great releases. The Impulse is capable of getting into any of the poses you can imagine. The sky's the limit here. The color separation of the kit is fantastic and the only sticker that I use is for the eyes. The other interesting point is since the waist articulation is limited by the core splendor, Bandai has made the chest able to move front and back to compensate for that. Accessories wise, the Impulse comes with the 4 silhouette, a beam rifle, a transformable shield, 2 beam sabers, 2 armor Schneiders, and various dynamic hands. It's a shame that we didn't get the Excalibur like the MG version, but I'm sure Bandai will release the sword silhouette as a P-Bandai in the future. The kit also comes with landing gear and missile pods for the core splendor and a little figure of our character Shin. As with all of the real grade, there is a cockpit hatch, but due to the core splendor, it's just a molding instead of a full cockpit. Iconic to the Impulse is the silhouette system, which enables the pilot of the Impulse to adapt to any combat style by switching its backpack. I can still remember the docking sequence of this thing since they show it in almost every episode. The real great Impulse is able to recreate the scene by separating into chest flyer, leg flyer, force silhouette, and the core splendor. The build is easy enough for intermediate Gunpla builders, however there are a few places that I would suggest you to be careful of. The little thrusters at the side of the 4 silhouette backpack is incredibly hard to snap in place. I had to shave off a bit of plastic since the stress mark is visible when I try to force it in for the first time. The other place to take note is the hands ball joint. Maybe it's just on my copy, but I've noticed that the socket is just too tight for the ball joint to fit into. Therefore, I had to shave off a bit of plastic here as well just to prevent the wrist armor from cracking open. When Bandai first announced that they'll be making a real grade Impulse, I'll admit that I was a bit skeptical. I built the high grade Impulse and at that time I thought the high grade was good enough. The proportion of the high grade Impulse mimics the master grade version, which is more streamlined and sleek. After building the real grade Impulse, I'm completely blown off by the details and the effort Bandai spent on this kit. Well, I guess they had to give it some effort so that they can reuse the base again for the other silhouette packs. Nonetheless, this Force Impulse Gundam is another gem from the real great line. The proportion is more towards the TV line art instead of the sleeker design we've seen in the high grade and master grade version. Now, let's get the kit into some poses and I'll let it do the talking. Bandai has been smashing it for the recent releases of the real grade line. The appeal of this line is getting a master grade quality and details at the scale of a high grade, and you can tell that the real grade has been getting more attention from Bandai compared to the master grade line. The real grade Impulse is here another release that is worth getting if you want to experience what the recent real grade line can offer. The build itself is interesting enough and the final product is just gorgeous. I would highly recommend this kit if you are a fan of the suit's design. That's all for the review, till we meet again in the next.